I do want to start with a sort of personal reflection. I just turned 55, the double nickel. And with longevity statistics today, the average longevity for a guy who's 55, who's in good health, is about 85. So I have another 30 years. And I think about that, and I think, I started working when I was 20, and I've worked for about 35 years. If I work until I'm 85, which I might well, because I like working, I can do almost as many crazy things as I've done already. And that's kind of a remarkable thing. I think most people, I think it was Tony Robbins, the famous tan and smile, who said, most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a decade. Is it useful? Is it useful to think of your department as frozen? And then if I want to change it, I'm going to unfreeze it, and then I'm going to, anyway. This unfreezing bit seems to imply that they're static in the first place. So whose business life today is static? Managers are buffeted by change, centrally driven change from above, change they initiate, change the people that work for them initiate. And they live in a world of change right now. So this idea that, first of all, two ideas, right? The first idea that organizations are static is just a nonsense idea. They're not. They're always flowing and they're always moving. And so that's a bit of a trivial thing, and it's a bit of a so what, right? So what that they're moving all the time? So what that Heraclitus said 2,000 years ago, that everything always flows, you can't step in the same river twice. Here's the consequences, I think. If you tell people that things ought to be static, that the status quo is static, that change is the exception to the rule, people will react to change as they react to a driver cutting them off in traffic. It shouldn't be this way. You set them at war with reality. What if organizations were agile? What would they need to be like in order to be agile? What would it be like if an organization, after a change program, was strengthened by the change? So that's a possibility, I think, and I've walked into organizations. I walked into British Airways, oh my God, 2 decades ago, and I was to rescue one of their change programs, which was called Project F, which was a really bad choice of letter when things went badly. And so the fixed mindset, as Carol Dweck describes it, is a mindset that approaches a new challenge as it's either a validation of my skills and talent that are fixed, or I have a deficit. I'm either good at it or I'm terrible at it. How many people have a conversation, I'm terrible at math? Lots, right? How many people think, oh, I'm not really good at science or writing? How many people have a conversation, I'm not really good at public speaking? So that's an example of the fixed mindset at work, saying I'm either good at this or I'm bad at it. So the growth mindset is a mindset that says, here's a challenge, I'm not good yet. And yet is the critical word. Because we think of talent as looking for someone as a fixed entity. You know, we want someone that's got a certain kind of resume, a certain kind of talent, a certain kind of scores, or something like that. I don't think enough about the slope of the curve. We think about where they are on the curve. But the slope of the curve is like, which way are they pointing in terms of experience, skills, knowledge, ability to contribute? I think it's an interesting challenge. And I think what's interesting also is the way we refer to talent in organizations. So in a sense, built into our very commonplace description today, talent is the fixed mindset. Isn't that interesting? And what mattered is that you provide people with the right stimulus, and then you get the behavior you desire. So this sounds fatally absurd to us today, that you can disregard how people feel. And from a moral point of view, it's brutal, right? Yeah, there's a certain brutality in saying, I don't really care how you feel. Here's some carrots and some sticks. It sounds abstractly absurd, I think, to people living in the 21st century. I teach an MBA class in business ethics in the evening, and I wish I had $25 for every time one of the students said, what about incentives? What about incentives to work? If you don't incentivize people, they won't work. If you don't incentivize people, they won't innovate. And when I say, actually, one of the things that's shown is that incentives get in the way of innovation, they look at me as if I'm from Mars. Yeah? But that's what the research shows. Incentives kill intrinsic motivation. So there's some interesting stuff there. We all think that, I think this is great. We use a modified version of carrots and sticks around here. We've gotten rid of the carrots. One of the things that consultants often do is what philosophers call causal reductionism, is say, without me, this wouldn't have happened. I was the prime mover. That's a theological argument. I was the prime mover in this change program, and I think they're deluding themselves. Because usually in organizations, this place had a new chief executive, he was doing lots and lots of things. So it was a terrific program, but we actually had business metrics that we agreed upon. You know what the interesting thing is though? I have tried sometimes to sell training and development programs, and I said I'll put some skin in the game. So you can pay me X, where X is lower than the competition. But if it works and you produce business results, you can pay me X plus Y. No one's ever taken me up on it. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? No one's ever said, okay, let's get some metrics. Let's see how you do, big boy. No one's ever done that. I find that fascinating. Accountability. We don't have the structures to really hold OD and change management people accountable for results. So, as I said, I think we get away with murder. Not that we produce no results, but there's no way of knowing, very often whether we are or whether we aren't.